Hi everybody, this is Flavia and welcome to another video. Today I will show you how to easily add metallic accents to dry embossed panels. This is a very easy technique and I should say very addicting. For today's note cards, I will be using this beautiful embossing folder by Spellbinders called Serenade. To create these panels, we will be combining two different techniques. First, we are going to dry emboss the cardstock, then heat emboss it, and you can use any embossing folder that you might already have. I cut this panel to 5 1/4 by 4 inches and later I will adhere it to a side-folding A2 size note card. Since this embossing folder has this circle right in the center, I will try to line it up with the center of my cardstock, and this is where I will place a die-cut sentiment later. Since I want to create two note cards, I will first dry emboss a piece of white cardstock and then a mahogany color cardstock. Before I run each panel through my die cut machine, I like to mist it with water to avoid cracks and tears on my cardstock. This beautiful mahogany color cardstock is by Spellbinders, and I noticed that because I added some pages of paper scraps to my sandwich, I got a better, more raised embossed result. So I will dry emboss this white panel one more time so I can get a more noticeable dry embossed result. By the way, it is very easy to reposition a dry embossed panel back inside the embossing folder in the exact same spot because it will fit like a puzzle, and you will be able to feel it with your hand when it pops back in place. Also, since embossing folders are usually clear, we can always double check just by looking at the front. Here is a closer look at both panels and notice how gorgeous it is. When dry embossing, I advise you to check the instructions of your die cut machine to figure out the best sandwich for an embossing folder. We could definitely use these panels as they are, and that is what I usually do, but today I will show you a trick to step it up a bit so you can use your dry embossed panels in a different way and make the most out of your embossing folders. To do so, we will need a watermark pen and embossing powder. Usually crafters have a watermark pad like this one, which will work just fine for this technique. All we have to do is tap this watermark pad over the raised portions of the cardstock. So this is definitely an option for this technique. However, instead, I prefer using a watermark pen like this one so I have more control. This is a very handy pen to have if you like heat embossing. I have had this pen for a couple of years now, and I usually use this pen to fill in the spots that I missed when I'm heat embossing a sentiment or a stamped image. However, today, this watermark pen will be the star of the show. This watermark pen has two tips, a small fine tip and a brush one, and you can use either one. I will use the brush tip because that is what I'm used to, but you should choose whatever you feel more comfortable with. Before we start dry embossing, we need to prep our panels with an anti-static powder. This will keep the embossing powder from sticking all over the cardstock when we add it later. We only want the embossing powder to stick to the sections where we added watermark ink. So that is what I'm doing here with this adorable brush powder tool by Simon Says Stamp. After that, little by little, I will start going over sections of this dry embossed image with my pen so I can later add the embossing powder on top. I chose Ranger Superfine Gold Powder, but you can use any embossing powder that you like. I prefer covering a large section at once before heat setting it so I do not have to keep on turning my heating gun on and off all of the time. However, it really is up to you and how you feel more comfortable doing so. We just have to be careful not to accidentally touch and remove the powder as we are adding more powder to the design. If you happen to get embossing powder where you do not want to, you can simply brush it off with a clean brush as I'm doing here before you heat set it. The heating gun can get pretty hot, so be careful when using this tool so you do not accidentally burn your hands. I found this to be a very enjoyable technique, maybe because it is very easy to do, also because I didn't need any new tools for this, which is great. I decided to speed up this section of the video just to be mindful of your time, but note that I did take my time during this process and I was not moving this fast at all. But I must say that this was a very quick panel to create. I believe this step took me less than 5 minutes. Once I finished creating this panel, I noticed that I had dry embossed the golden powder on sections of the cardstock that I did not mean to. And here is a great trick when dry embossing. If you happen to hit set some powder in the wrong spot, you can also remove it by scraping it off with a craft knife like this one. Just make sure to be very light-handed as you do this. Let me now give you a closer look at the two panels that I created, and notice how much the golden accents add to each panel. To adhere these panels to the front of my note cards, I will use foam adhesive. Because we heat set these panels earlier, they did warp a little bit, and by adding foam adhesive in the back, it will make it easier to adhere these warped panels to the card bases. I also like to add liquid adhesive on top of the foam adhesive for two reasons. One, because I don't really trust the adhesive in the foam adhesives, and two, because the liquid adhesive on top of the foam will allow me to slide this panel a little bit or even remove it so I can reposition this panel if I need to. For the sentiment, I will use the metal plates included in the Spellbinders Serenade Sentiments die set. This set comes with lots of sentiments for many different occasions, and we get metal plates to cut out not only the words, but also the shadow pieces for these words. We can use both or just the die-cut sentiments, and I love that we have these two options. On one note card, I will add the die-cut sentiment Best Wishes, and on another one, I will add the sentiment Thank you. I stacked about 3 die cuts for dimension, as I usually do because I have lots of cardstock scraps and I do enjoy the extra dimension, but that is definitely optional. I love the style of these letters and how delicate and elegant these die cut sentiments are. However, it can be tricky to add adhesive in the back, and that is why I like using this needle tip bottle for applying liquid adhesive. It makes the process definitely easier, and if I accidentally apply too much adhesive in the back, I can simply tap it off on this yellow cloth that I have on my desk to remove any excess and avoid any liquid adhesive oozing out on my front panel. Then, to add some sparkle to this die cut sentiment, I will go over it with my shimmer pen and then apply Ranger glossy accents on top. To make the envelopes match, I will dry emboss half of the flap of each white envelope. I will place one envelope on the bottom of the embossing folder and the other one I will place on the side so I can get different patterns. After that, I will add cardstock strips that I will cut out of golden and mahogany color cardstock to tie everything together. To cut out my cardstock strips, I like to use the Simon Says Stamp Strips 1 die set. You can definitely use just a paper trimmer to cut it out, but I prefer using the metal plates to do so because I think that these metal plates give the cardstock strips a more rounded edge and a more finished look. These plates are also great because we can cut many cardstock strips at once with the same width. So here is a closer look at the completed note cards along with the matching envelopes. I hope you enjoyed this video and felt inspired. For pictures and more information, make sure to visit my blog. I would love to have you there. If you're interested, there is a supply list of all products used today in the description box down below. I appreciate you spending this time with me and I hope you have a great day. Take care and happy crafting!